These episodes are intended for mature audiences. Viewer and listener discretion advised.
It's like, no, if you don't get along, like, you got to get out.
Yep. Run.
Yeah. Run away. Block them. Don't go back to this. Oh my God. I felt that way for my therapist too. She would also point out things about like, yeah, like that's a pretty cool thing. How did you celebrate yourself? And it's like, well, I didn't. Just gotta keep it moving. Like,
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But like, I don't want to take up that space. Like, heaven forbid I take up space and just shine the spotlight on me. But that's something that I've been doing more and more these days is like, and something I learned in volleyball was just like to celebrate every point. So I definitely make it a point when I'm with my friends. I hype people up. I always do. I'm like, you got a haircut, you look great. I love your outfit. You're killing it. Like, there's the only competition you have is with yourself. That's another thing that I've learned. So like, I try to celebrate others and myself often. You have to. Yeah, I think we really got to do that growing up.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. In that first year, was your faith like what you held on to in that rough time?
I think so. I think going back, because, you know, sometimes when you're quote unquote like alone, or like you think you are, I think that was really something that I'm so grateful for having is faith. Like you're never alone. You know, God is always with you, and there's always something wanting the best for you. And, you know, God wants you to be happy and to, you know, persevere. So I definitely think faith, like I said, journaling and like praying and meditation has always been a constant practice in my life.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Stories of a Dandelion. Today we have Liz, who I have not talked to in a long time, but I have been following her journey of life for the last couple of years, so it'll be very fun to catch up and fill in the gaps that I don't know about. So welcome to the podcast, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay, so first question. If you're 18, graduating from high school this year, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I love this question because I feel like there's so much pressure when we're 18 to do so much and to feel and know so many things. Honestly, I would probably tell myself that you yourself are good to go and you're okay, like just you. You don't need to be chasing somebody. I feel like growing up, like marriage and partnership and like men were so important. So what I would tell myself, it's just like, you know, love on you, get your grades in, get your friends, you know, good to go, especially with like college being new. Just hone in on that. Don't spend so much time chasing people. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I get that. So tell me about your life, how you became a military brat. So from the time you were born to the person that you are today.
Yeah. So my mom, we'll start with my parents. My mom was born and raised in Panama.
Okay.
And my dad was deployed there in the military, and they met and they got married. And they had my brother Jeff and I. So for the first couple of years of my life, we lived in Panama, and I lived there and had all my aunts and my grandparents there. And as a lot of families do, when you marry into military households, you just like start moving from there. So after Panama, we ended up staying on the East Coast, but I moved every couple of years. Lived in Georgia and Virginia, New Hampshire, Miami, Pennsylvania. And I almost graduated high school in Pennsylvania. I was there for 5 years, from middle school until junior year of high school. And then one day my dad came home and he was like, guess what, guys? I have a deployment and we are moving. And I was like, oh my God, like, I guess that's exciting, but like, I can at least still visit my friends. It'll be fine. He said, no, but we're moving to Europe. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What? I was like, that's not part of the plan. Okay. I had major plans to see my friends and to have a normal life. And honestly, it was like devastating. Because when you live somewhere for 5 years in a military household, like that can feel like a long time.
Yeah, feels like home.
Exactly. And like I said, I had one more year of high school. I was like so close. My brother was a year older than me, so he got to graduate. But then, so my senior year of high school, I moved to Shape, didn't know a soul. And I was like, all right, guys, let's wrap up school and make new friends, make new experiences. And it ended up being an amazing time. But that's kind of like, my military Army brat upbringing.
Yeah, I remember when like you came to Shape, I was like, oh, who's this person? And then like you just have this very light and sparkly personality. So like you came to Shape and you fit in like quickly. Like there was just, it felt like you were there for longer than that. So when you went over your story, I definitely thought you were there for at least like 2 years.
No, I just kind of had to make it happen, make friends and kind of get through it because there's no other way.
So tell me about that transition between like now I am moving the Shape. Like how did you mentally prepare yourself to be like, all right, like here it goes. I won't be able to see my friends that I've made, for so long. Now I have to go to this one place. How did you come in the way you did with this very sparkly personality and uplift yourself to move to Shape that way?
I will hand it to my folks. They did a great job because I think they themselves are super excited to move to Europe. I mean, who wouldn't be? Objectively speaking, living in Europe is a privilege. I mean, because Europe is so small, it's so exciting. You can travel so much and there's an end date, it's like kind of like a vacation, an adventure. I know in the moment I really resented my family. I kid you not, Gina. I remember seeing my brother graduate and we were in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And I was at his graduation and I was bawling. I was like dying. I was like, that should be me. Like, no way. I can't believe this. I was so sad. But coming to Europe, it was fun. I mean, when we got there, it was an adventure and I had to see it like that. I think I have a disposition toward joy and gratitude. So, while it was difficult. It was difficult when you're, 16, 17 moving like that. But so I've always kind of just been like grateful and happy. So, I also joined the volleyball team. That was really fun. I knew it was a new challenge for me. And I knew that it was a gift. So, I also probably just gaslit myself a lot. But I was like, you shouldn't be sad. Like, you'll be fine. Like, get over it.
And they say fake it till you make it. Like, really?
Yep. That is really, that's what I had to do. It's really also just up to faith, really. Like, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. It was either you could be really sad about it or you could look at the positives of moving. So I think I was just grateful. Just try to be grateful.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me, after you graduated, what'd you do?
Yeah, so after I graduated from Shape, I was in a household where like college was just, that's what you were going to do. There wasn't really any other option, really. I grew up with that mindset and, I really wanted to go to a big school. I wanted to go to like a big school in the South or maybe in Pennsylvania where I went to high school. But I ended up going to a small liberal arts college in Massachusetts, which ended up being really good because I learned so much. So after Shape, I mean, I had my summer, and then my folks and I flew back to Massachusetts. And I had like my stuff shipped over. I don't think I even remember like how that stuff came over. Like, did I just have suitcases? I don't know. My grandmother was like an hour away from that school. So then I just kind of started college, and, again, it was like a liberal arts college. I'd never met so many people who were from like New York or from Rhode Island, and just kind of grew up in one place and then went to school, like a cozy, quiet, only English, like never been away. And I was like, you guys are boring. I was like, where's the life that you've led? Like, don't you want to see the world? And they're like, it's just like sleepy towns. So I ended up going there, like I said, learning a lot. So that's what I did right after Shape.
Okay. How's that transition into like all these people that are from all these different countries, and then like you come to this boring place? Like, how did you try to fit into that?
Yeah, it was kind of tough, honestly. Cause I also grew up going to church, going to like Catholic church. So it was like a huge part of, my Shape experience. Most of my friends were faith-based, and, even before I went to Shape, like all my friends were religious. My mother's side of the family is religious. So, I remember like going to mass by myself freshman year of college, and people are like, I've never been a Catholic before. I'm like, there's a lot of Catholics in the world. Like, what?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild, Gina. I remember people meeting me and they're like, wow, you're so exotic. Like, what? And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm like, you think being Catholic is exotic? It was so weird. It was so bizarre. It was a culture shock, really.
Yeah. Did it make you feel like an outsider when they were saying all these things? Like, I'm not that different. I just had a different life experience,
Yeah. I ended up saying that to like most people though, and then like I even met people that had like never been on a sports team, that had never been out of the country. It was definitely, like I said, a huge culture shock. So my first year, that was also kind of rough, but my second year I started doing, like arts, things like that, performance arts. And then my first year I did ultimate frisbee, which was so fun. That's definitely like a, running, sprinting, like active sport. And then I played volleyball my sophomore year of college.
Okay.
So once I started getting those groups, then I was like, okay, like I'm a part of a community, not ones that I'm like typically used to, but this will do. And that really helped. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. In that first year, was your faith like what you held on to in that rough time?
I think so. I think going back, cause sometimes when you're quote unquote like alone, or like you think you are, I think that was really something that I'm so grateful for having is faith. Like you're never alone. God is always with you, and there's always something wanting the best for you. And, God wants you to be happy and to, persevere. So I definitely think faith, like I said, journaling and like praying and meditation has always been a constant practice in my life. Just like growing up, sometimes you don't have answers when you're a military brat, and it's like, why do I feel so sad? Or why is this happening? Why is my dad being deployed? Like, why am I so different? And it's like, you really just got to hone in and, pray, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how did because you said you have gratitude and joy practices, how did you use those to get through those times? Like, what positives were you looking at daily to be like, it might be rough right now, but it's going to get better?
Yeah. I think what I used to say like back in high school and college is like different from what my gratitude practice looks like now. I think maybe like in high school it was more of like a meditation of like the repetition of prayer and saying like, it's going to be okay. Just kind of like soothing. Also just like without knowing. Because there's like in the future, we never know. So you can either think about how bad it could be, or you could say like, something's, I don't feel that good right now, but I don't think life is supposed to feel like this. There's got to be something better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I feel like, that gratitude journey for everybody is different, but, probably just being like, there's got to be more. I know so many happy people, and look at what I have, like the opportunity to travel, and my family, everybody's alive. My parents are together, so something's good. Something good has to be in there.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. One thing at least.
Yeah.
So after college, what did you graduate with after college, or when you were in college?
Yeah. So I went to college, and I stayed for the full 4 years, and I got my undergrad. I double majored in global environmental studies and Spanish. And then I stayed for a 5th year. They had a great 5th year program where you get your master's as well. So I started taking master's classes my senior year, and then I stayed 1 more year, and I got that in community development and planning. After 5 years of school, I came out with 2 degrees, and that was a cool thing. Had some debt for sure, but
for sure.
Yep.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Like.
Yep. Don't we all? Yeah.
Oh my God! Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Did you ever think of going to school overseas?
Like going to like doing university and stuff, like abroad. I don't think I really had like the idea to do like an undergrad overseas, like a full undergrad, or I think I played with the idea of doing like grad school maybe later on when I had some like experience and some like a break, because you go from like middle school, high school, college, grad school. It's like maybe when I'm inspired, I'll do that. But I did study abroad my spring semester of junior year. Yeah, and that was also like always something that I knew that was always like baked into the plan, was to study abroad, because like, and that was really funny too. When I got to college, I was like, I can't wait to get out of here. Like study abroad, come on, like that's all I know is like movement. Wow. Yeah, and some people are like, I've never left the country. Oh my God. I'm like, oh, you guys are such noobs. Like you guys see the world. Noobs. Wow. Yeah, but I went to Chile. I went to Chile for my spring semester, and that was awesome. Chile is so beautiful and unique and like physically isolated, and I highly recommend like going down there. It was cool. It was a good time.
Really? Yeah. What was it for your Spanish?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. Awesome. That's really cool. I really do want to go to Argentina and all that and stuff like that, because I think because I don't know if you remember Gigi, but his family's from Argentina. And so I was like, oh man, I want to go visit there. And like he brought me back a hat one year, and I was like, okay, now I have to go. Like, like you brought me back a hat. I at least have to say like, oh, I've been there. Can't wear the hat and be like, oh, you've been Nah, a friend bought it for me.
Nah, I heard about it. I got the hat, but I don't really know. Yeah.
I don't know much about it, so I really have to go. But do you think the way that you look at the world, I guess because you also lived in Panama, but do you think like moving to Shape kind of changed the way you look at the world with like everybody who lives just in the United States? Like it's like you haven't been outside and you haven't met all these like different nationalities. Do you think you would have that same mindset if you didn't move to Shape your senior year?
I think Shape, I was really only there in school for 1 year. And then my freshman year of college, I came back because my folks were still living there. So I would like come and visit and stuff. I was there for Christmas and the summer after. And then of course I like kept all my friends. Yeah. But I think like Shape for me, it was so interesting because I knew so many folks at Shape who had lived in Belgium or in Europe for so long, but they were American. So it was like so interesting to think about like what is American culture living outside And when I say American, I mean like the United States. I know America is all Americas.
Yeah.
Is, everybody there is from the States culturally. I think it gave me like a different perspective of what it means to be from the States. But I also definitely think, it's such a privilege to be able to, like I said, have lived in Europe and then come back and live in the States. It totally changed my world. I mean, like most of my classes had kids from the States, but I remember I took a French class and like, it was like a French level 1 my senior year. I felt like such a noob because like there was like so many kids from all over like Estonia and Greece, and it was just such a beautiful, that was like one of the most relaxed classes I ever took. It just felt so natural to be just among so many Europeans. And where like, there wasn't like any drama. It was just like, we're studying. We're here to learn a language. And it might be a little hard, but we're all here to study. And I kind of like that vibe of just like Europeans in general is like kind of just this confidence, if you will. I feel like Europeans in a way, I don't know. They just hold this kind of like understanding about what life is and kind of like a different kind of maturity than kids from the States do. So, no, I think not having had lived in shape it changed my life for sure. And like my understanding of being international and everything like that. Plus, like, I feel like my family really took advantage and we got to travel around. And for volleyball, we got to travel, and like art, like class, we did traveling. So super awesome.
Yeah. Do you carry that mentality, that European mentality that you kind of learned? Did you kind of embrace that for yourself to, just grow into and be like, this is something I want to be a part of who I am in my life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of it, is that it's unique. And so like you can definitely set yourself aside by saying like, this is a part of, my life growing up. This is a huge experience that I went through. And I think that's another way, not to cope, but to kind of get through things is like, what did I get out of this? What is going to remain in my life? How can I, what can I reap from these experiences that are something that I can be grateful for, that I can share with others, that I can enjoy and celebrate and hopefully come back to. I ended up going back to Europe for 3 weeks on a solo trip last year. That was pretty dope. That was a crazy trip. I was like,
I want to hear about it. Let's hear about it. Like, what was the experience?
It was a good time. In a nutshell, I went to 3 different countries. I started in the Azores, which is part of Portugal, like out in the Atlantic. I went to Lisbon in Portugal. Then I went to the UK. I actually met up with Lucy Martin. I don't know if you remember her, but but she was in my year, and she's British, and like she happened to be in Wales at the same time as me. So like we hung out.
Nice.
And then I flew to Greece after that. So that was, and then I saw another shape person. It was so cool. I didn't see her sister, but it was, it's so funny because I remember her last name, Athanasopoulou. That was I remember like when I met all the Greeks at Shape, I was like, you guys are so cool and so smart and everything. But we all, we hung out, and that was a good time. Solo traveling was really cool. But I think back to answering your question, like, I think having the experience of being in Europe and spending time there and kind of, just living there is, it's really unique. I don't know a lot of people from the States that have done that. So
it is different. And I think like, no matter how long, like you're at Shape, whether it's like 6 months, a year, for me, it was 15. It's always gonna, like, it changes you regardless of the time that you're there. And it's so, I think it's weird in that way, right? Like everybody has this different experience, but even in the bad, you can take something good away from Shape. And I don't know a lot of experiences where you can take a good out of something that everybody's kind of experienced together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, or like a common good. I mean,
yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, like it was difficult moving that because when you're like 16, you don't have any control of your life, and then you like even more no control. Like that was hard. But I will say, like, I loved all the friends that I made, and like loved spending time with people. And like, Gina, you're so awesome. I'm so glad that like we're connected again. So it's like, the people are really the gifts that you have, and that resilience that everybody kind of breeds together is really, it's really special. Also, Margarita. That was Margarita's name. The person.
Oh, yes. I was like, what? Margaritas were having.
I should have made one. Yeah. If I wasn't sick, I'd be sipping one right now.
I mean, we could be doing it together. If I wasn't just getting off of work and getting here, let's do it.
You know what? It's 6:30 somewhere.
For real, it is. It really is. Oh my goodness. You know what? Let's just put it out here right now. I'm going to go visit Liz, guys, and we're going to have a margarita, whatever it is. Let's do it.
Come through.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Okay. But it seems like gratitude is very much like your journey through life and how you've grown to be the person you are and the light that you are. I remember, like I said, when you came, like I was like, I really liked you because of like just the smile that you had on your face every day. Like, even if like we lost a volleyball game, you'd be like, it's all right, guys, we'll get them next time. Like, it was just like, you always came with the most beautiful gratitude and love and kindness and respect for everybody that was around you. And it was just very contagious. So it was just like people gravitated toward you. And it was a beautiful thing. And I'm so happy that I got to experience it and that you came to share it with us. Because I think when you left, it was like weird. Like, it left kind of like a dimmer light in my life. I know that because I was like, oh man, Liz is not here anymore. Like, well, this is still going to be a good year, but she always made everything funny and, crazy and ridiculous. She would make a joke out of stupid stuff, so it was really great to have that experience there with us and the gratitude that you brought to Shape. I think it changed a lot of mindsets more than you even know. So I want to thank you for that and doing that in my life specifically. Love you.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, yes, of course. So tell me what you're doing now. Like, what are you doing? Are you doing anything with your degree?
Yes, I am. So I am working full time. I just finished my 1-year anniversary. And it's so funny because like grew up in like a military household. Mm-hmm. But when I got to college, I was like, I definitely went down the path of like more activism and like environmentalism. Mm-hmm. And, community stuff and like gardening and nature and things like that. That's really also been really important for me growing up. Just being outside and being in tune with nature. So now I oversee recycling at a building level. And it's just so funny because it's like a super green job and it's something that I worked up toward. And it's like working with people and staff, like educating people about recycling. But it's funny because it's at the Pentagon. So I work at the Pentagon doing that, but it has nothing to do with being like in the armed forces or like defense contracting, or it's like, it's like the most crunchy job you could have at the Pentagon. Like, I'm in like touching trash every day. Like, hey guys, recycle that. Like, don't waste your stuff. Like, you should compost. Like, it's, So it's fulfilling. It's a demanding job for sure. I go, and then, after the pandemic, I think folks got used to like teleworking, but it is like I'm in every day. Like I said, today I rarely take a half day, but today I did. And I was like, I'm not feeling super well right now, but, so that's what I'm doing. Definitely using my degree. Thank God. But I know like, sometimes it can feel like I spent so much time learning this stuff and, what am I doing now with it? But that's what I'm doing. Grateful that I'm in this position and making the impact that I am. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah. Did you ever think like going to school, I'm going to be working at the Pentagon one day, like, and then military connection too, again?
Right. No, I didn't think that. I'd be like, get me away from this. I spent my whole life. I sacrificed my life for the military. Did not think that. Yeah. Cause I mean, I didn't even like, I feel like we all consider joining the military and like doing ROTC or something like that. But I think at a certain point I was like, you know what, that's just not for me. I don't want someone telling me what to do. Like I did that. I worked full time. And I'm like, you know what? I love that. I love that for you. Like, I know so many people who are in the armed services or who have gotten out, like a lot of our peers, joined the military. And even before I lived in shape, and then I have friends today who are like ex-Marines and stuff like that. And I guess it feels familiar. Obviously, the military is always going to feel familiar to me. But no, I didn't think that I'd be doing this job, but I'm grateful for it. So we're back.
That's good. Yeah, we're back, guys. I gave you my whole life, and I'm going to give you the rest of it, matey.
Yep, I'm going to die in this building. Gosh dang it.
Oh, my goodness. It is so crazy. Like, we all try to run away so fast. And then, like, next thing you know, like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I kind of work at MWR as a contract specialist. Like, what? Yeah, I still work with the military.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm still here.
It's still here.
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere. It is.
Yeah.
It is. Hey, guys. We are on air. I know, right? So cool to have this. But I interrupt this podcast to ask you guys to please follow us on all of our social media sites. We have Instagram, YouTube, the podcast on anywhere you get your podcast. And please share and like this episode and comment if this episode has affected you in any way. Because the more you comment, the more you like, the more you share, the more people we reach. And the more people we reach means the more the story of mental health and military brats change. So please go and follow us on all of these websites and please share it with whoever and whomever you believe these stories will help change. Because I know that all of these stories thus far has already helped change my life. So again, thank you guys for watching. And please like, share, comment, and follow us on all of our social media platforms.
So is that what you're doing right now, or it's part of what you're doing? Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I think it was just like, I love it. And I was like, I mean, I love the military, but I was just like, this is, maybe I'm going in a different direction. Like, maybe I don't have to work for the military. Then all of a sudden, like, I got this job and I was like, oh no, this is what's meant to be. So here we are working for the military, and familiarity is great. But I also think I'm curious about like the unknown parts of the world, like what's outside of this sector, and can I like succeed in that sector in the way that I succeeded in a military sector, if that makes sense. Because like your whole life's in the military. You want to see if it can be successful outside of it. And I guess college was like a taste of it, right? But yeah, I kind of think about that sometimes. Like, what would my life be if I didn't, stick to like this military route and I got like a job outside of it? Would it be as fulfilling, or would I just like want to run back and be like, I do want to serve the people that served me, Yeah, it's interesting.
What? And you said NWR? Is that that's what you're working at? I know. What is that?
Yeah, it's the Family Morale Welfare Recreation. So you remember like when we used to have like Shape Fest and like those different events and stuff like that. That's in a way what I do. Like I make sure people have the supplies for their events, and they have the food that they want, food trucks, all those different things. I also make sure like the veterinarians have the supplies they need so that they can take care of the military dogs as well as civilian dogs overseas and statewide, and just kind of all aspects of it. Chaplains. What else do we do? Concessions, vets, events, all that, like just a whole bunch of stuff. And it's pretty crazy. I just started in July, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, but I worked at the VA before this, so I've really just literally boom, boom, boom. So it just did no break. No, not at all. Not at all. And funny thing is, before that, I was at the CYS. So
the CYS, which is what the
kids, the children, the youth services, yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was connected the whole time. There's no breaks in between.
Yeah, well, that's such a gift that they had you to work with them in direct experience. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. So, last question. What's your 5-year plan?
Oh, man. What's my 5-year plan?
If you have one. Now, if you don't and you have like an idea of where you're going, you can share that as well.
Yeah. Gosh. I guess like I like the idea of having like some concrete plans for 5 years. I think naturally, like being a millennial, I want to say like owning a house, being married, having kids, working on my debt. I think like home ownership would be awesome and just like a financially sound choice to make. I think having kids is something that I definitely want to have kids. And I think growing up, you know, like I said, one of the things that I would tell myself when I was 18 is like, you know, hone in on you and not worry so much about partnership, or rather, you know, spend some time thinking about what healthy partnership looks like. I think in the next 5 years, I want to keep traveling. I want to, you know, keep building my career, be creating and doing things that I'm proud of professionally, and to keep meeting people. And I think the goals that I want will manifest themselves. I think that when you travel and when you keep meeting people, opportunities come up. So I think like for a 5-year plan, I think like really, I don't know, just keeping on listening to me and keeping on learning more about myself. I think that when you trust the process of loving yourself and trusting and respecting yourself, that more and more doors open. So am I going to buy a condo someday? Yes. Is it going to be next year? Maybe. Is it going to be in 4 years? Maybe. Or 7? I don't know. It's going to happen. I know it will.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, meeting a partner and everything like that, like, will it happen? Yes, absolutely. It doesn't have to be in 6 months. It's going to happen when it does. And then, yeah, as far as kids go, I will say that I'm really grateful. I have 2 nieces. So shout out to my sister.
Hey.
For taking the pressure off a little bit.
I know, right? Parents.
Yeah. Thank God. I was like, my sister had kids. I was like, thank God. Jesus. Like, cause like she's a little bit older. She's like 15 years older than me. Okay. So when she had her first kid, I was like 20. And I was like, man, I could be a mom right now. Like I could be a mom at 20. I remember holding my niece for the first time and be like, wow, like this is wild. This is crazy. But then, yeah, also like the women in my family also all had their kids like later on in life. So like, it's weird. I don't feel that necessarily pressure to have kids like tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think it'll happen. So, yeah, just kind of honing in, saying yes to new opportunities, and meeting people. That's my 5-year plan, and not, you know, if I live on the street, it being a choice, not because something happened and I had no choice from it. So, you know what? Under promise, over deliver. That's my 5-year plan, Gina.
Solid plan. Solid plan.
Can't go wrong.
Oh my goodness. I do have one question. What moment or what happened for you to give the advice that you would give at 18? Like, because you keep saying like focus on yourself. Like, what happened for you to be like, okay, it's time to be like, this is not what I need right now. What I need is to focus on myself, and everything else will come into play when it's supposed to.
Yeah. That's such a cool question. For me, so like I dated in high school and I dated through all of college, and then like after college I dated, and I think I just kept running into the same issues with like my partners and even my friends too. Things just like didn't feel good, and I would like confide in my friends about events that happened or behaviors that I would find in partners, and my friends would be honest with me and be like, Liz, like that sounds pretty like not fun. It sounds kind of it sounds like you deserve better than that. And I think having that kind of perspective from friends was really important. And then at some point, I remember a couple years ago, I think it was in the middle of the pandemic, wild time. I started seeing my first therapist, and I know that my sister had a therapist when she was younger. I don't know how great of an experience that was, having a therapist that's like a young person in Panama, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
I think that like therapy has been more normalized and come a long way. So I remember I got a therapist, and that was really tough because, I don't know if you've been to therapy, but like finding a therapist that really fits what you need, and like, you feel like you're not being judged, but rather like working on something like I had to figure that out. And I was like, man, this sucks. This is really hard.
It's like harder than finding a job. Like,
yes. Yeah. Oh my God. It's like, and you really have to, it might not be the first one. Like you can't just get one and be like, okay, they're gonna like fix my, it's like, no, if you don't get along, like you got to get out.
Run.
Yeah. Run away. Block them. Don't go back to this. Oh my God. I felt that way. I talked to a couple therapists, like trying to find a good one. I'm like, oh man, I hope I never cross paths with you again. Cause that was like, it's such a process. Like it's so emotional. It's also like, all right, do you take my insurance? Like, are you available? Like, do we vibe and stuff like that? But I think going to therapy, that was also something just like, seeing patterns and saying like, hey, like, this is how you feel. Do you want to keep feeling this way? And if the answer is no, like, okay, so what are we going to do about that? What are those action items? How do you want to feel? So I think for me, it was repeated relationships, and then going to therapy and starting to surround myself with people that were more, involved with like sports or arts, just like having a good time, not relationship based. And also like my last partner, like we broke up, and I was like, I need to just be single. I really need that. What a privilege to be single, honestly. And unmarried as like a young woman, like we're the happiest like subgroup of unmarried women. So like I'm here for it. Like I will dive in, especially like I said, I feel like a lot of people in the military too are brought up to say like, you got to find a spouse and like come in and lock in. I
was going to ask you that, like, was it your parents' marriage that influenced you to be like, okay, like I want to find what they have, and like, just kind of really get into that?
Part of that, my family always stressed like partnership and marriage and how that was important to do. Like they always stressed like go to college, like can't have a kid until you're married, and you can't get married till you have your college degree. So I was like, okay, like I guess that's the sequence. But also, like I said, I grew up Catholic, and then my mom's side of the family is Latin. So like all my aunts, like they all met guys who were in the military, and they locked it down, they got married, and they left Panama. And it's like, I mean, women's lives were defined by like the man that you marry, and I just like I'm definitely a product of that. But I just also was like, man, this just doesn't feel. This is not very fun. Like I feel like I should find relationships that are just. I mean, like healthier. So
yeah. It seems like even though like what they were teaching you, yes, like partnership is awesome and amazing, as you know, your parents have shown you. It seems like they skipped the part of like you have to be yourself first. You have to know who you are before you get into a relationship. It was kind of like you said, college, marriage, kids. So, do you feel like therapy is teaching you that? Like, I need to know myself before I get into partnership with somebody else?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what does it mean to be your own person, and kind of like trusting yourself. I feel like growing up in a military household, it was very much like this is happening to you, at you, and you don't have a choice. Like, if you're sad, like kind of tough. Like, can you imagine people who are deployed? They have it harder than you. So, kind of just not deal with it. But, I was thinking about, this talk that we're having right now prior to this night. And I think that was something that, like I really learned and got to reflect on also is like in a military household, like, yeah, you're a kid, like you don't have any say, like maybe in like what you wear, and like where you sit at lunch, but like not where you live, not how you act, because the way you act has a direct impact on your folks. And it was almost like, it's like growing up and you're really living, and I know I said it in a joking way, but like you really are living in service of your parents, and they're living in service of the military. So like I really was serving the military. Come on. Like I was cooperative. I was obedient.
Come on now. Yes. I tell my mom this all the time. She's like, you didn't serve. I was like, Mom, like, come on. Didn't I though? Like, come on. I had to represent you, and me representing you represented the military. So, I mean, one plus one somewhere. Thank you. Where are my benefits? Okay.
Because I don't see them. Why am I paying rent?
Something. Give me something. Or like going to the store and they're like, we have military discount. Oh, that's great. What is that supposed to do for me?
Right.
I'm past 26. I'm past 26.
All right, you gotta give me something. Living with this every day. Yeah. Honestly, Gina, once you sit back and think about it, it's like, dag, I really did that for all those people. Man.
But I mean, what are you going to do exactly? Like, it was life. And do you feel like you compartmentalize things growing up? Like, I'm sad. This goes in this box. This goes in this box. Like happiness, like different things like that.
Yeah. Or even like, even just like having difficult feelings, like maybe not even knowing how to work through them. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Something about growing up was just kind of like, it is what it is. And, that's it. There's no real other choice in like how you feel, or like if you're having I think what I said earlier, I feel like that was really true. Like, you're having a bad day, like, yeah, imagine what it could be like. Your life could be worse.
Yeah.
Right? You could be in a war zone, or you could be deployed, or your father could have passed away if he like, if he was deployed and stuff like that. Like, but I think that's like a coping mechanism that you inadvertently adopt as like as an army brat, just kind of pushing through and, staying focused. So yeah, definitely, I don't know, definitely boxing away feelings and things like that happened. And but also like when you grow up around other army brats, it's like they're good, like they're getting by, they're having a good time, they're going through something similar. So I guess it's like it's fine and normal. But then when I went to college and I met so many people that weren't affiliated with the military, I was like, whoa, you guys are all like like very different. Like you're very calm and you're very like there's not a lot of it seems like you don't have a lot of worries. Like, it seems like you're just like okay with things and you're not on edge. And I'm like, dang, where did you come from?
Something's not adding up here. Like, my life was up here and you just like, man, do you feel like because thinking about it, do you feel like we were like kind of emotionally stunted in a way? Like, you can't feel these emotions fully. You have them, but you can't really confront them because right now your parents need to focus on the mission, and the mission comes first because it's saving lives. And so, like, you just kind of feel like, oh, you go out into the world and it's like, what the heck is this feeling? Like, I've never really felt this before. And for the first time, I can fully feel it. Like, what is this? Did you feel that too?
Yeah. Or kind of like not understanding how like certain folks could like get through, like, I don't know, studying for like a really difficult exam or, just like being so relaxed, making friends, like, cause I've always been able to make friends. It's not a problem, but I feel like trusting the process, because for me, like making friends is like, well, I'm probably not I might not see you next year. So I'm like going to make the most of this and have some really fun times. And that is a great way to make friends and meet people. But it's rare for me to like be with somebody and know that like for 10, 15 years, like you're going to be here tomorrow. Like I'm going to see you. And trusting that. But yeah, definitely like just like the emotional part of just, I don't know. I think like also with the military, like there's a right way to do certain things. And heaven forbid you get it wrong or like, and then you like have a bad attitude about it. It's like, you better get it right. And if you don't get it right, then just like kind of, we don't want to talk about how you didn't get that right. I mean, grades or having friends or sports. So it's like a performance, really. So
therapy is helping you through that. I know it's helping me. Like, I haven't gone because for a little while I was the VA. The contract fell through, so I didn't have a job for a little while, so I couldn't go to therapy. But I'm going to start up soon now with the new job. Is it helping you work through that stuff? Like, for me, before I stopped going to therapy and everything that happened in college, my therapist was like, you endured that. Like, you do understand, like, you graduated and you got through the toughest part. Why are you not looking at the positives? I was like, because there's so many things I failed at. Like, what are you talking about? like that's what you're supposed to focus on and be like, I have to better those. She's like, no, but you were so much you succeeded at. Like, you moved to the States after living overseas your whole life. Like, you don't think that's something to celebrate? And I was like, maybe. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. This is weird. Like, you're giving me this weird feeling in my heart that I don't understand.
Yeah, that's so interesting that she said that. Yeah, because I feel like when you have a childhood or like you're raised to kind of perform or be like in the eye of other people or always being perceived, when you do the quote unquote right thing, it's like, okay, well, that's expected. Like, keep it moving, as opposed to being like, wow, Gina, like, let's sit down and let's celebrate you. Let's sit down and say like, and like, I don't know if my folks or the military ever sits youth down and are like, hey, thank you. And like, I'm grateful for you. You are important outside of the military or outside of what you can accomplish. I definitely, for my therapist too, she would also point out things about like, like that's a pretty cool thing. How did you celebrate yourself? And it's like, well, I didn't. Just gotta keep it moving. Like,
what are you talking about?
But like, I don't want to take up that space. Like, heaven forbid I take up space and just shine the spotlight on me. But that's something that I've been doing more and more these days, is like And something I learned in volleyball was just like to celebrate every point.
Yeah.
So I definitely make it a point when I'm with my friends. I hype people up. I always do. I'm like, you got a haircut, you look great. I love your outfit. You're killing it. Like, there's the only competition you have is with yourself. That's another thing that I've learned. So like, I try to celebrate others and myself often. You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we really got to do that growing up.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's so weird, and it kind of takes me back to when like you were comparing your hardship with like somebody's like greater hardship that like is very incomparable, and like you were kind of one of the like, oh, it could be worse, and so like you kind of, all right, we'll push these feelings aside and then get back to gratitude and joy instead of feeling them and then being like, okay, it's okay, it happened, and then getting back to gratitude and joy. So I think it's kind of interesting that, you know, we get out and we still compare, right? Because it's what we did our whole lives. Compared to, you can be this instead of that. And now you're learning you don't, like, comparison is not the point. Like, you shouldn't compare your feelings to somebody else, that your feelings are also valid and you deserve to feel them. And it's so weird to like realize that at like 20 something, right? Like, oh, I can feel my emotions too. Cool. like awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. It makes me feel amazing.
Yeah. I was like, I guess I'll go do that by myself. Yeah. In the corner.
Exactly. Yeah. It's weird. And I don't think it's really our families, but I think it's just like the military mentality of being military strong and like, you know, there's so much going on in the world. Like, what are we crying about? What are we like doing this about? Like, you know, our friend comes to school and they say, oh, my dad's being deployed. And then like, it's like, oh, well, what I'm going through compared to them, like, I got to put that aside and be there for them. And like, you kind of learn how to be there for others, but not yourself. And it's nice to learn how to do that now. I don't know. It's so weird. This conversation has taken like a big turn and I didn't expect it, but I'm happy it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. Yeah.
It is interesting. And what you said too about just like how to hold space for myself, like you got to do that. I think like a good gift that you can give to your friends and family is for you to take care of you. Like if you're tired, you got to go to sleep, or if you're thirsty, like make sure you're hydrated, or, you know, call a friend or journal, like taking care of you. Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. 'Cause it's like, I think that I did in ways that were like observed and like objectively, like I was good for other people, but like, what is that? What do I need when it's just me? And like, I'm allowed to do that. It doesn't mean that I'm taking away from somebody else. And like, exactly. I really got to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lesson that we're all learning. I think like it's a long time coming. And like you said, the shift in mental health and how it's looked at. I think for us when we were growing up, it was, you know, having a tough time, suck it up, let's go, keep it moving and keep it pushing. For the next generation of military brats, it seems like it's a little different. But I also, working at CYS, I did see kids, because of their parents being in the military and were kind of raised with that mentality, they're still kind of being raised with that mentality as well. And, you know, I in some ways, I believe it is up to like the older generation of military brats to be like, hey, not necessary. Your kid is okay. Like if you're like around something like that or something like that. So it's like, and I guess for me, I feel like I'm taking up that mantle. Like, yeah, they do need to be mentally tough and everything, but also at the same time, teach your kids how to feel their emotions because it's necessary. Like, you can't get through life without feeling them, without realizing what emotion is what emotion, because we all can grow up and think disappointment is anger and frustration is anger instead of putting them in their proper categories. So I'm grateful that you came on and shared your story and your struggles with everything, and that we were able to have this conversation and share it with others in the next generation. And hopefully it makes a change for future military brats.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Thank you so much, Gina, for having me. This has been so cool. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. I loved having you on. If you ever want to come back, you're more than welcome to come back. And like you said, I'm so happy that we reconnected. It's awesome to see your face, and hopefully someday soon, I'll be seeing your face in person.
Yes. A margarita.
Yes, Margaritaville.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Oh, man.
We'll make it happen, Gina. We'll be in touch about it.
Oh, yes, of course. Definitely. Oh, Liz, it was so good to have you on. And I'm so grateful to just reconnect with you and catch up again. It's been awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. Love you too, Gina. Yeah. This is awesome. This is a really cool project. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. There are a ton more tea time episodes, as well as stories that are going to be shared on this podcast to come. So please like and subscribe or follow down below. And I will see you all next Military Brat Monday. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I am so excited to continue this journey with all of you.